Hubbard to the Hubbard, dancing into the end zone, and a Panthers victory with a touchdown in overtime. Cardinals eliminated from the playoffs.
I think we're building the right things. We're on the right track, and I'm excited to see where this team can go next year.
What's up, everyone? I hope you enjoy this series. Thank you so much for checking it out. Right before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, and keep God number one. Let's get right into the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the first episode of previewing every NFL team until NFL kickoff, starting off with the Arizona Cardinals going in alphabetical order and ending off with the Washington Commanders on September 3rd. Thank you for tuning in, but before we preview the Arizona Cardinals, very, very important message. The Bible verse, Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. This is a great verse. I love this reminder. It's just always telling you that the Lord is with you, wherever you are, wherever you may be. If you're in your room recording a YouTube video, if you're out on the road driving, if you're at school, wherever it may be, the Lord is with you. He is by your side. He will not ever leave your side. So do not dismay him. Do not push him off, brush him off to the side. The Lord is there for you. You need to be there for him and glorify him with all that you say and do. Every interaction you have out in life, people need to see the light of Jesus Christ shining through you, and you just need to be the best overall messenger that you can be for the Lord, because he always fights for you, so you need to always fight for him and have that symbiotic relationship. Now, without further ado, let's get right into the preview. Starting off, the Arizona Cardinals were not terrible last season. They weren't bad by any stretch of the imagination. They went 8-9, 23.5 points per game. This put them at 12th in the NFL. They knew how to score the ball. They didn't struggle scoring. They struggled closing out games. That was their Achilles heel last season. They could put points on the board. They can get balls in the end zone. As you see, 42 touchdowns. James Conner was punching them in. They were throwing the ball left and right. They were scoring. They knew how to get points on the board. They just could not close out in those close games, because 5 of their 9 losses came in one-score games. If they flip that narrative, they win all of those games. They're 13-4, likely the 2 or 3 seed in the NFC. They're a squad that has a good offense. They're building a good defense, and they're just young. They continue to develop. They continue to get better, and they'll continue to crack down on these numbers and have them slowly sort of rise, as we will see. 22.3 average points per game allowed. That landed them right in the middle of the NFL at 15th. So it's not like their numbers were bad by any means. They're on the positive side of all 3 of these stats. Again, they just have to close out games, and they have to find ways to get it done. The Arizona Cardinals are a very young team. They're building slowly through the draft and through the offseason every year, which we have seen. And this year in the draft was no different. They got a bunch of studs. Walter Nolan with pick 16, the defensive end out of Ole Miss. He is a stud. Very, very good production in the SEC last season. He will continue to be just a force as he continues to develop in this system and he continues to get his feet wet in the NFL. He'll be a really good guy on that line to pair with that defensive front, and the Cardinals should have a stud right there. And you want to speak a stud, at pick 47, one landed right in their lap. A guy that I wanted the Dolphins to take at pick 13, Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan. The only reason he slid down that draft board was injury concerns. We talked about how Shedeur Sanders was the biggest slide of the draft. For me, it was Will Johnson. This guy should have been off the board if he was healthy, in top 5 contention. Entering the season, he was a top 3, top 5 pick. All of a sudden, you're landing him at 47, almost out of the top 50. That's absurd. Will Johnson is an absolute stud. They're going to pair him just alongside some great safeties, some great corners. He's going to build in that secondary, and he's going to be a day one starter for the Cardinals if he can just get on the field, develop right, and stay healthy. He's going to replace the Hall of Fame Patrick Peterson, who played 13 seasons for the Cardinals, so he has some big shoes to fill. But I do believe Will Johnson can be as good as he wants to be. He's an absolute stud. He's a playmaker. He's a lockdown corner, and he will get that ball back for you on the defensive side. He does not allow much. And Jordan Burch, the linebacker or defensive end, very versatile, coming off the edge at pick 78. Another great defensive pickup. All 3 of their first picks were all defense, so you can tell which side of the ball they were trying to build off of. Very opposite of what their last draft classes were, which makes sense because they built up with Marvin Harrison Jr., Paris Johnson Jr., and now they're tending towards the defensive side of the ball. So they're building on both sides with young talent that's going to develop. They're going to continue to get better. They're going to grow as a team. They're going to work every day in the offseason. And this is a team that could be very, very good next season if they continue to find their success. The big question mark is going to be Kyler Murray, which it has been every season. This is his 7th year in the NFL, and he still has people doubting his consistency in his play. That is a problem. You see a guy come in the league last year like Jaden Daniels. He gets drafted 2nd overall pick, and all of a sudden he just completely flips around the Commanders season, the Commanders franchise as a whole for that matter. Takes him to the NFC Championship game. He was consistent every single week. He got them big wins on the board. He made big plays when they mattered most, and no one doubts Jaden Daniels, right? No one's doubting him. If you look anywhere, everyone has him as a top 5 quarterback. Everyone has him as a sound quarterback, and he's played 1 season. That is what you expected out of Kyler Murray when you drafted him 1st overall back in 2019, but he hasn't given you that level of play, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you see a rookie guy come in and absolutely ball out, and you look at that and say, that's what we need out of our quarterback who's been in the league for 6 seasons. He just hasn't provided that. So if this can be the year that Kyler Murray finally settles in, straps up, and plays consistent day in and day out, this will be a huge season for the Arizona Cardinals, and they can go as far as they want to, in my eyes. They can win as many games as they want to. They're talented enough to defeat anyone in the NFL, and I mean anyone. This Arizona Cardinals team went toe-for-toe with the Bills week 1 last season. They are very, very good. They're talented. They just have to play sound, play consistent, and play as a unit and come all together. They're a young team, so there might be a lot of growing pains at first, but if they can get those out of the way, they can get the main mission at focus, and they can play together and play as a unit, they can be a very dangerous team, especially with all their additions and everything they have going their way. Looking at the schedule, they start off week 1 at New Orleans, so that's going to be a pretty easy game. The Saints should be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, to put it bluntly. I don't want to, nothing against the Saints, I'm not a Saints hater or anything, but we know that team's going to be a very big work in progress. And then they play Carolina, another team with a lot of question marks entering this season. It's a team that has a very low floor and a very high ceiling. You don't know what to expect out of Carolina, especially early in the season, so the Cardinals could definitely get another win on the board. And then San Francisco, a team that just deteriorated on the defensive side of the ball this offseason, lost so many big names, Dre Greenlaw, Javon Hargrave, go on and on. Travarius Ward. We'll get into the 49ers way down the line as we get towards the kickoff, but another game that should be a pretty sound win for the Cardinals. And then they play the Seahawks, a team that should be pretty good. They had a lot of changes this offseason, so they're going to be a whole new team over there in Seattle. 2nd-year head coach with Mac McDonald, and then you get some new targets in, Cooper Kupp, Sam Darnold, Kenneth Walker's looking to have another great season. So they play the Seattle Seahawks week 4, and then you play the Titans, a very young team that's just sort of working in themselves. Probably should be an easy win. The worst team in the NFL last season, so they play the Titans week 5. Week 6, you go at Indianapolis, another team that's had their struggles. Anthony Richardson has just not been able to find his footing in the league, has not been able to stay healthy, not been able to play to the caliber that he should be playing. And then Green Bay, a team that should be really good. This one will probably be their biggest challenge of the season coming in week 7. But they get to play them at home, and they get to play the Packers. So this is a very good team. This will be a hard matchup, but I do want to see what the Arizona Cardinals can pull out against a tough opponent early on in the season like that against the Packers. Moving on post bye week, it's week 8, so it's about right in the middle of their schedule. Pretty good bye week. I like the week 8 bye week. It's probably one of the best bye weeks in the NFL. They go to Dallas at 8:15, a Monday night primetime game. And Dallas is going to be interesting this year because they struggled last season, went 7-10, missed out on the playoffs, all that good stuff. So they could definitely have the Cowboys' number this season if they don't come out swinging again. And that'll be a nice matchup to see. And then they travel to Seattle for week 10. They get to play them again. So it's really going to be an interesting division this year with the 49ers, the Rams, the Seahawks. I think the Cardinals have a good chance of winning the division. The only real threat is going to be the Rams because I believe both the Seahawks and the 49ers took a step down. The Seahawks could come out, though, and they could come out of the gate swinging. They could surprise a lot of people, and they could be on the positive side of a lot of those games. But it's just going to be one of those things you have to watch and find out for yourself. And then after that week 10 matchup, we move on to week 11, a home game against the 49ers. Then they have a home game against the Jaguars, who are a young team with a lot of improvements this offseason. They'll be interesting in their own regard, but I believe the Cardinals should have a number up on the Jaguars. And then they travel to Tampa Bay. That will be a big test. A 1 o'clock game in November against the Buccaneers. That'll be an interesting matchup. Baker Mayfield and that whole squad is holding. That's a great squad right there. Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka. They just continue to build and continue to have a roster year after year in Tampa Bay. So that will be a challenging matchup. And then the first time this season, Week 14, they will see the Rams. It'll be at home on a December matchup. One of the best times for football when we get into the Christmas NFL time. But they will play the Rams Week 14. Week 15, they will go to Houston and play CJ Stroud and those Texans, who by this time are going to be in a playoff hunt. They're going to be racing for seeds, and hopefully they're going to win that AFC South. I want to see the Texans have a great season this year. And then Week 16 at home against the Falcons, another interesting team this offseason. A lot of changes and just a lot of new things to see out of Atlanta. And then Week 17 and 18 can both flex, so we don't know exactly what time these games are, but they could be a primetime game, they could be 4:25, they could be 1 o'clock, all depending on seeding and depending on how things shake out in the NFL. But it'll be at the Bengals and at the Rams. 2 hard away games to close out the season. You go to Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, play against a team that has a lot of morale this offseason. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, all under contract. Trey Hendrickson, not so much. Trying to get that done still, along with Shamar Stewart. Very interesting situation still. The dispute still going on, and it's almost the time to play the game. It's August 3rd. We're about to have NFL here in about a month, and Shamar Stewart is still not on his rookie deal. Very odd situation, but a very just rather interesting one nonetheless. And then Week 18, you close it out at Matthew Stafford's house in Los Angeles, playing against the Rams, a team that should be pretty good this year, a division rival. This could be a determining factor for who wins the division, and that caught my eye instantly. Week 18, the final week to close out the season, and you have the 2 front runners for this division going head to head in what could be a primetime game. If it is that way, if they are going head to head for the title, I believe this should be flexed to a primetime game, and I believe we should see the Cardinals and Rams playing a do or die match for the division and maybe for a playoff spot. But I believe both those teams have a good chance at making the playoffs. So that is the Arizona Cardinals schedule. And honestly, it's not terrible. They had the 6th easiest strength of schedule in the entire NFL. I feel like they can pull out a lot of games there. They only have 2 primetime games, so a lot of their games are about 4:25, 1 o'clock. They'll be playing those common opponents, and I feel like they're going to be able to get it done. We saw they have the Saints Week 1, and then that whole schedule vice versa. So that should be a pretty easy win against the Saints, unless they don't come out and shock a lot of people, come out swinging like they did last season, averaging 47.5 points per game through the first 2 weeks, which was absolutely absurd, and then they just sort of fell off a cliff. But I do believe the Cardinals will be able to pull out some key wins early on in the season, continue to build off that momentum, build off that success, and find their way through the line. There's a young team is just going to continue to develop. And one player I want to point out, as you see right here, is Marvin Harrison Jr. He had a great rookie season. It was not bad by any stretch of the imagination. He can continue to build off that. Last season, he was perfectly fine. He went for 62 receptions, which was 4th among rookies, 885 yards, 115 shy of 1,000 in his rookie season. Great numbers. That was also 4th among rookie receivers. 8 touchdowns. He found the end zone pretty consistently in his rookie season. That ranked him 2nd among all rookie receivers, and 14.3 average yards per catch, which is very good, one of the higher marks in the NFL. So Marvin Harrison Jr. had a very respectable rookie season, and honestly, those numbers weren't even terrible to his name. Kyler Murray played inconsistent and didn't even find him in games at times. So that's just something that needs to be worked on, and I guarantee you that's been buffed out this offseason. They've been working on that chemistry and that consistency in getting Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball. So we should see him with the rock in his hands a decent amount of times this season, and I'm very excited to see how they're going to take that and utilize him down the line. The Arizona Cardinals are a very interesting team. I think they're one that has a very high ceiling, and I think their floor is it's buffed up this season from prior seasons. I think their floor this season is about 7-10. I think that they are not going to lose too many games. I cannot see them losing more than 10 games. I think that I'm going to cap off that floor at 7-10. I'm going to raise their ceiling to about 13-4. I think they can win 13 games if they really start to kick it into high gear and they really find their rhythm and everyone's clicking. James Conner's running the ball well. Marvin Harrison Jr.'s catching the ball well. Kyler Murray's playing consistently. That O-line is doing their thing, blocking very well. I believe this unit and this team can be as good as they want to be. The Arizona Cardinals, for me, are a team that's flying under the radar right now, no pun intended, as a bird. But they are a team that can go as far as they want to and defeat whoever they want to. The Arizona Cardinals going to be very good this offseason. They were very good this offseason, going to be very good this regular season. My apologies, Kyler Murray. I just really hope he can find his footing in his 7th season in the NFL. James Conner continues to be a dog. He is as well going into his 7th season. And Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the best college football receivers of all time. But that's going to be it for the Arizona Cardinals preview. Let's see what they can do this season. Let's see if they can kick it into high gear. Let's see if they can finally get back to the playoffs, just 2 years removed of being 4-13. Trying to flip that script, turn this ship around, and be the best possible team that they can be. Thank you guys for watching. As always, make sure to like, subscribe to support this series. I love you all very much. But most importantly, keep God number one. I love you all, and I'm out.